Hey all, Board Game Rants here, where you'll find everything solo tabletop gaming and more. And here we are at the end of October 2020. Here's the MVP show for November. Lots to talk about. Let's get going, shall we? First of all, I want to say thank you. I had quite a few subscribers over this past month. Kind of feels like out of nowhere. I put 2 videos out. I think the last one was over 3 weeks ago now. I think my review of, what was it? Biogenesis. And which I also got Megafauna, and I still have yet to really even read the rules on that yet. And I've got it. I just don't know. I just didn't feel in the mood to try and relearn a whole. I'm hoping it'll be easier this time with Biogenesis, in my belt. But Megafauna has got a lot of stuff to it too. But I'm eventually looking for it. It certainly looks more appealing and more PC. There's a lot more bits and fun stuff to move around there. But anyway, I'll get more to that. I, again, wanted to say thank you. Welcome. If you're new to the show, this is mainly what I do each month, where I show more of my personal side of things. Certainly what I've been playing from a solo standpoint and what I've been thinking about it. So let's get started. I got a total of, I got quite a bit of games played this month. 56 plays in over the month. 10 different games across 10 different beautiful games for the most part. Yeah, I mean it was a good month to play that much, and they were on the shorter side, these games, but actually anyway, it helped that I played a number of games that were already favorites of mine that I just felt compelled to bring back out and did, and that would be Teotihuacan. I got 5 plays of that. That was a top game for me, 2 years ago, I think, when it came out. It was actually, interestingly enough, after about 4 or 5 plays, I think I popped on and I did the show and commented, and I didn't really like the game at that point. But then after I got past that, the game became and has just verified as I've replayed 5 more times of it with some of the expansion stuff, which I wasn't too happy with the expansion, mainly because I was looking forward to this new board and this new temple to work with, and that was like the weakest part of the whole expansion for me. But the other stuff, with some asymmetrical things that you can do and cooler looking boards that you take your pyramid building actions with, and your decorations building actions with. It had different boards that just operated differently that I liked. And so I played it 5 times with the expansion, enjoy the heck out of it. And what had prompted that is playing Tekenyu. And I got 5 plays of that in, because that was the same designer, same solo designer as Teotihuacan. But the new game, the new and improved, it was new and streamlined is what it felt like to me. I did a whole review on that as well, but that is what prompted me to want to bring Teotihuacan out and get playing that. And then Trismegistus, which is another favorite, made the top 10 for me last year, and was the same. It was Daniele Tassini, David Turchi, but totally different feeling, totally different vibe than Teotihuacan, than Tekenyu. And also, too, Daniele Tassini, kind of the first game like this was the Mayan calendar. Something. Was it called the Mayan calendar? Why am I'm spacing out? Tzolk'in Mayan calendar. An older game now. Didn't have an official solo at all. But that was kind of the series of games there. That, Teotihuacan, Tekenyu, and which then prompted me to want to play Trismegistus, which is like this whole theme of not wizardry, but alchemy. But very much a similar mechanic that it just appeals to me. And after playing Tekenyu, which was the newest of the bunch, I found that I've liked it less. I liked it, but I liked it less, quite a bit less than Teotihuacan and Trismegistus. So anyway, that's where it kind of falls among all those games. What else did I play? The Magnificent. Got a couple games in of The Magnificent, which I commented on this quite a bit. Was it a month, 2 ago? Great game. great game to just, it was so easy to just bust out and play a quick couple games to relearn the game. It's really only like 4 pages of rules. It's just lightning quick to relearn. Well, it helps that I hadn't played it all that long ago, but I just enjoyed the heck out of it. Came close to beating a game. I've never won the game, and it's just beat your own score. It's not beat your own high score. Oh, it is, but your goal is 200, and I got to, I think, like 196 again. My first game, we were terrible. And I was like, nah, I can't, I'm not putting away this game until so I played it again, got to 196, so close to winning, and that's just the minimal win. And then there's the higher levels. So that's good stuff. I like the Magnificent. I like the way it looks. A lot of people complain about, it looks a little dark and stuff, but I don't know, it's pretty vivid once it's out on the table, and so I had a good time with that. Quick couple games. But then I'd been eyeballing Pax Pamir second edition for some. It started showing up again on the hotness list. I think because there was another. Well, I'm not sure exactly why. It just seemed like it suddenly was accessible again, and people were talking about it. So I busted that out, and I played myself 4 games of that. And yeah, I mean that is that is just, it's another level of good. Purely, I think, by design. I mean, if there was a game that I might describe as eloquent in its design, it would be that. Just because the mechanics are so deceptively they're simple. It was just, again, it wasn't a difficult game to relearn. And I think the last time I played it was like a year ago. But it just, God, it just takes my breath away when I'm playing that game, and just all of the interesting layer after layer of things and that develop over the course of the game, and the strategy to follow, and the different things that present themselves, and just the beauty of this game. Also, just moving around these heavy little things that either represent armies or roads, and it feels like a chunk of chalk, like heavy chalk. And I don't know, I've never tried to ride. I wonder if I'm not going to go out on my driveway and start drawing some pictures or anything, but it feels like that. The game has such a cool feel to it and plays so beautifully. Pax Pamir. Anyway, I oodled on about that game in the past, and I'm not sure if I did an official review on that, but Pax Pamir second edition. Ricky Royal did the official solo variant. It's incredible. Beautiful, fun game. Pax Pamir. Biogenesis, I got 8 plays of that in, and that I did a review on. You might check that out. That is it was a study. You have to get into that game, and you have to be willing to commit some time to learning that one, because you can't really get away from the terminology, which gets in the way of learning the game. At least it did for me. It was so much technical jargon associated with biology, and just these terms that just, this little cube, this little red cube or whatever, it represented something here, it represented a chromosome there, but it represented a organ over here. It just depends on where it was, when it was, how it was, and mana over here. And that was weird for me. Mana, I guess I couldn't. The game has no sense of like magic. It's just pure like science, and there's this terminology of mana in these cubes when you're just starting to try to develop life, and it's just hard to, I don't know. I couldn't get my brain to look at that and make sense of it, because it's just like, it's anti-magic, this game. But it has the word mana in it. So I guess that's a technical biological term for stuff. But I found that weird. I don't know. But did I like the game? Absolutely. Yeah. So watch the review on that. And I am looking forward to eventually getting to Megafauna when I get the courage up to, and want to get my spectacles on, and I want to start studying a game to try and figure out how to play the damn thing. Then but I had to, and I'll mention in the review, I had to modify the solo variant that came with it. It was way too easy, quite frankly. It was super long and way too easy, which was very unsatisfying. But that got fixed. Anyway, moving on. Infinity's Defiance of Fate. So that was a game that I kickstarted, I want to say well over 2 years ago. Finally came, and I don't know. I think I've thrown a fit about Kickstarter enough and how everything's late. Not going to get into that. The game itself, 16 games. You might be like, whoa, you must have liked this one. And short answer is yes, I do like this one. Infinity's Defiance of Fate is an interesting game in the sense that, you look on the box, you look on the back of the box, and it just has, I think it's Vatal, V-A-T-A-L, Vatal Studios, I think, is who made the game. It doesn't tell you who designed the game. It just that. The box is a little plain, but it was beautiful. Very clean looking. But as far as the game is concerned, it kind of felt a little bit like the box in a weird way. What do I mean by that? I guess it just felt, the game feels sterile. And what creates that sterile feeling for me, even though I like the game, and I guess I'll get more into that here in a sec, but I'm probably going to do a full review on this one just because I've played it more also here this month because something came out on BGG that I was hoping for, that I felt like the game was really missing from a solo standpoint. Anyway, the game is got some depth to it. The rules are very easy to comprehend, but what makes makes it each game so heavier feeling is that you kind of have to relearn how the rules are manipulated based on the scenario you're playing. And it comes with this full scenario book that you can play in a multiplayer, and there's like, I don't remember, was it like 10, 12? I don't know, a bunch of scenarios for multiplayer, and then an equal number for solo, which went through, it basically provided a solo scenario for every single, what do you call it, character available in the game, which was cool. And I mean, it kind of reminded me a little bit of like what Cloudspire, if you've ever played any chip theory games there, that, just kind of gave you a scenario that sort of was involved a certain character or species, or I can't figure out the stupid name for what I'm trying to say. Anyway, for whoever you wanted to play, the faction, then it kind of gave you a story and a scenario to it, and this did too, but in short order. I mean, there was just basically 2 pages. It was a page that was kind of a story, and then a page of rules that you had to that were bent within the main rule set. So it was kind of, I just felt like one of the bigger barriers to getting in this game was I was always referring. You have to constantly refer because you're rolling dice and you have to kind of see what the AI is going to do, what this AI is going to do, which is different than what the other AI did, which is different than what the other AI did, and then the move rules are a little different, and then the reach rules, which kind of like range or line of sight rules, are a little different, and all this, everything was just always a little different. So like I don't know, I just felt like it was hard to get into a groove with this game. And while I felt like the mechanics of it were very clean, very crisp, a great design, really, and so many different modes of play. There was also a skirmish mode. So it was like a skirmish mode, multiplayer, solo. There was this kind of cool, like if you achieved a certain victory or a defeat, you flip the book upside down, and then you could read like what pertained to that. So there was like all this story involved, but I don't know, I never really got into the story. I wanted to, and I kind of read stuff, but it was just all so scattered that I couldn't really lock on to a good sense of story and theme with this game. And so that, again, bringing it all back to the box, and you just kind of still left me feeling kind of a sterile game. And one, too, that you can't really develop a good, strong strategy in any given game. Now, that's probably not the point of the game either. These are short games. That's why I was able to play so many. You can play them in a half hour, 45 minutes. Setup is pretty quick. And it's sort of a light 4X game, but it's, each game, there's so much dice rolling, there's so many just different things that you have no control over. Like when you're playing the skirmish mode of the solos, which I'm very grateful that showed up, because that's like what the game was missing, is I wanted a good skirmish mode to play solo, and those were finally printed out, and you can find them on BGG and print them out. And I've been trying those over this past month. But so many things happen that you just can't, just when you're building up to a certain thing, and then you're with a roll of a die, tiles flip over, and it's kind of like, oh crap, it's just well, I lose just because a certain color of tile got flipped over, and it was just sort of, and you'd spent 2 or 3 turns building up to it, and then you have no control over certain stuff. And fortunately, though, it plays quick enough to where you can just get right back at it and play again, and I was compelled to. So again, I guess the bottom line is I liked the game, but there's certain couple things there that just it'll keep it from being a favorite of mine, I guess. But man, I tell you what, component quality and for what I paid for the game, whew, fantastic. I mean, there was a lot of love put into this game, and I appreciate it. Moving on, played Seastead. So Seastead, I went last month was my birthday, and the day before my birthday, I went into a friendly little game store and just looked to pick up a couple games. What the heck? And Seastead was there, and on the box it's all 2-player. But flip it over, I don't remember where I saw somewhere on YouTube. Someone was like playing a solo version, so I knew it had a solo version. And it was a pretty inexpensive game. It looks beautiful. I only got 3 plays of that in, but I got enough to kind of get a sense of it, and it's fine, but it's a very, I don't know, the solo just, again, there's a multiplayer game, but the solo almost feels again like just kind of has that tacked on feeling to it, because it's like the boards that you play out, the little flotillas that you put out, it's kind of this interesting concept where you're diving. You either do 2 things. You're either diving and getting resources, or you are building buildings out on these 4 different flotillas. And you can build up to 6 buildings, I think, on each one. And you have to do it in kind of a, well, anyway. So, and then when you do that, it unlocks certain little things on your board. As you uncover stuff on your board, you get to do little actions. And so I was like, this little mini heavy game, but it just doesn't feel heavy. But there was different sides. There's A sides and B sides. There's sort of an intro way to play the game, and then the advanced way to play the game. Fortunately, the solo is kind of just the intro way to play the game, and it's like, but I want to play on the other sides. I want to experience those other things. I want to experience these. There's a whole other set of cards there that change the rules. That's not, you don't get to use in the solo, and it's just kind of, I've played that a couple more times this month, and I was like, screw it, I'm just going to flip over this board and see how it plays. And I felt like it was a lot more fun when you're playing with everything. But, I blew the AI away that way, so, I guess it would just be harder to balance or something, but I found it more interesting. But, so, anyway, Seastead, 3 games of that, just meh, yeah. Looks gorgeous and just very eye candy and good components and stuff, but from a solo standpoint, I guess if you're looking for a certain thing, kind of a short order game that sets up, looks beautiful, play pretty quick, it has some appeal there. But the solo variant, I wish it was just better developed, and it was just kind of like to. This, again, felt tacked on like so many solo variants kind of do, but at least it gave you an opponent to try and beat, but it was really simplistic. Anyway, moving on. The other game that I picked up that same day that I went day before my birthday to pick up, again, Warp's Edge. And I think this is the designer that makes all the mini epic or tiny epic stuff. I think. Not positive on that. But Warp's Edge is I think it said it was the second of a solo design series. So I don't know what the first one was yet. I've just never had. I've tried a couple times these tiny epic games, and they fall flat for me, and so I kind of just stopped. But because I got Tiny Epic Galaxies, because that was supposed to be the epitome of it, and it's just not my style. That's just basically, there's nothing wrong with the games. I don't think, just not for me. And so, but this game, and I've only gotten 2 plays in, and I put it away because I got other stuff that I was kind of get back to or start doing reviews for. So, but I enjoyed it. I really liked it, and kind of this bag building element. You got these little chits, and there's this interesting kind of you try and you warp back and you try again and you warp back and you try again. You get a few tries, and each time you gotta kind of redo, and it just sort of resets the scenario, but you're stronger because you've learned, is kind of the theme, that what enemies are out there, and you've built accordingly, because you know you're going to go back in time, you can get another shot at them. And so it's kind of a cool theme. Has a whole little storybook too that you can get into and read, that can after you're done, sort of like choose your own adventure style, you can set up the game in a certain way with a certain theme based on the story you just read, which is fun. That's just fun. I haven't done it yet. I think I've read through one story, but I didn't set it up that way. It was just my first experience with the game. I just wanted to read the story, and it was entertaining. But I'm looking forward to doing that. But again, only 2 plays in. Can't give you a solid opinion on that, other than it was kind of immediately likable for sure. Lastly, Assault on Doomrock. That was a game that is old, and I had come across, I forget how, but on thegamesteward.com it was available. I purchased it a while ago, and just took me forever to kind of get to it. And I finally got to it. I think I got to it a little while. I busted it out. I got all the components. And I was trying to figure out how to play it, and then I put it all back. But I brought that back out this last month, and I got 3 plays in since then this month, and I'm just 5 days into November here. Got a few more plays into it, and immediately likable for me. It's that genre of fantasy adventure, but it feels quite different, and it looks beautiful. I love the art on this game. I love the cards, and I just love just the little mechanisms. There's 2 basic things to the game. There's sort of this non-battle where you're just going from area to area, and you're having these little encounters and little knickknacks, and which sometimes rarely hurt you very badly, but give you stuff, silver, and so you can buy items, and there's shops, and there's fun little, it's got kind of a quirky sense of humor to it, and just enjoyable little adventure aspect of the game. And then there's, once so much time has gone by, now you got to fight. So hopefully when you play solo, you play with 2 characters, and hopefully you've built up these characters, which could be, I don't know, there's always a trait and a character. So you could have, I'm struggling to remember what the traits were, but they were kind of silly, like a obnoxious, warrior or something. I don't know, but they're kind of comical, and just and you do that randomly. So you start the game basically with just a random character and a random trait. You put them together, a la whatever, Small World or something like that, right? So and then you're playing the game, and you can level these guys up, and it's a dice rolling game during the battle, basically. I mean, you roll dice too to loot things. It gives you a little table, so that's fun. But in a way, it had the same sort of mechanism as Infinity's Defiance of Fate, in that you're rolling dice, and then you got to kind of lock in the dice, and those determine what actions you can take. So it's the same mechanism, the same kind of, for me, just undesirable. It's too much chance. It leaves too much to chance, because there's just turns on both of these games where you just couldn't do anything with. You just get a really bum roll. And you're allowed some rerolls in Assault on Doomrock, more than you were in Infinity's Defiance of Fate. Infinity's Defiance of Fate, you basically locked in 1 die and rolled 3, and then if you didn't like those 3, you had to roll all of them, and then you got what you got. And I mean, it could really kind of just feel like screw you over. But in this one, you had, in Assault on Doomrock, you have a little more control. You can roll, a couple times, and you can choose which dice you wanted to roll. But based on those dice and the numbers that you rolled, they're just little D6s. It would activate certain abilities. And I've experienced a couple frustrating times there, but I feel like too, and I was like, there's no way, that's stupid. I can't, there's too much luck involved. I mean, that was my immediate kind of sense, but there was so much intriguing about the game that I was overlooking it. And now I feel like, I'm starting to get the gist of some things, and so there's still a lot of, you can really get screwed over by the dice here, and just have a hero that you can't activate on a given round, which is devastating. But the battles themselves, So that was kind of unique because there's just sort of this sense of positioning, and you're either kind of in a group. Well, no, you're always in a group, but you could be in a group by yourself. The rules were just weird. The rules were hard to like quite figure out, and I just and this is a second edition copy, and I'm always a little tougher on second edition stuff because it's like, you know, these kinks should be worked out. I mean, the same problems are coming up, and I was looking in some of the past BGG things all the way back to 2016, and like the same problems, the same questions people were having with this second edition. It's just like, you know, why are those fixed? Anyway, and so just the terminology, maybe it's just because it's built, designed in a foreign language and just the translation, I'm not sure what was missing, but yeah, it was just weird. And it had this, so it has a sense of, you know, there's no real line of sight. But there was, you know, because like if you were engaged versus surrounded, you know, and there's a group, and it's basically represented, your hero is represented by a little disc, kind of a la Chip Theory games or something. And that was hard. It was hard not to make a comparison for me to Chip Theory games, which is just dominant and just completely better in almost all ways than this game. But I mean, but you're talking with Chip Theory games, and now I'm specifically referring to Too Many Bones. That's like a top 5 game of all time for me. So that's a heady comparison. So this game though it can still be perfectly good, and it is. But it's just, you know, it's not going to compare to Too Many Bones for me. But I couldn't help it because, you know, in Too Many Bones you got these chips that represent your characters and your enemies, but they're heavy and they're beautiful and they're fun to move around and clickety clack clack. Here it was just kind of, you know, these thin little cardboard shit sized things, and it's just less it's less fun to move around. Didn't look as nice. There's no board that you're moving on. You just have this on this table. You have these little piles of chips. Ones that represent you, and then ones that represent the enemies, and you either kind of move, you know, adjacent to an enemy or a group or away. You're moving away, and you push and you pull, and you know you're engaged or you're not, you know, which represents some. There was no real line of sight, and you're not moving on a board anywhere. You're just kind of just like either coming together or coming apart, and the rules are kind of based on that. And it was just, I don't know, I didn't find it very, you know, intuitive. It was hard to wrap, you know, and just the way it was described, and it's hard to figure out, you know, what triggers before what. And anyway, so I wasn't a big fan of the battles, but now that I played a few, they're not too bad. But the pieces still certainly leave something to be desired. And this game is blisteringly difficult. I got to, so you play it in 3 encounters. So there's your adventure phase, and then the first encounter. Then an adventure phase, second encounter. Much tougher enemy. Third adventure phase, and then the bad guy. And you have to make sure you've gotten to Doomrock, and then you fight this big encounter 3 guy. I've only gotten there once. Got destroyed. Most of the time, I've lost a couple of times now in the first. I've lost most, I think, in the second encounter. I mean, and some of these are just, it feels impossible. I don't remember what I was fighting, but it feels impossible. And sure enough, I looked up on BGG and people were like, this is impossible. You know, you got to house rule something to make this even plausible if you're playing solo with 2 players or something. And so, but I don't mind losing to games, for one. And if they're fun, and this is fairly short, it plays pretty quick. Once you get the rules down, it plays pretty quick. It looks good. You know, it definitely has that adventure-y vibe to it, and with a cool little boss battle at the end of each of these encounters. And so, more to say on that. I've only, like I said, I got 3 plays in. I've gotten some more plays in here recently, but more to say on Assault, on Doomrock. That's all the games that I played. If I had to pick an MVP, I really don't know. You know, the most voraciously played, I guess, would be Infinity's Defiance of Fate, but it wasn't, you know, it's not one of my favorite games of the year, but I do have more to say on that as I played more in this this way that I was hoping that the game would offer solo and the skirmish mode. So, but I'll probably save that for next month. But moving on to, wait, was there a disappointing game here? I'm just looking to see, because I played so many games that I knew that I was going to love. I guess if I had to pick a disappointment, it would be Seastead. It was, but I was kind of asking for it. I don't know. That was a stretch. I didn't expect much from the game, and it sort of delivered. I guess kind of what I thought it was going to deliver. So whatever, I can do without Seastead, that's for sure. Warp's Edge definitely has piqued my interest. I'm very much looking forward to getting into that. However, what else did I do? I played a lot of Frostpunk over this past month. The video game. I saw the Kickstarter. As you know, if you've watched any of my stuff, I'm shying away from Kickstarters. Just sick of it. But, the game looked great. And then I saw the video game, which is what the board game's based on. But it was like, it was $30. I was like, nah. But then there was a 60% off sale. So I picked up that game for like $12, $13. Woo! It was worth it. And I can see, well, I don't know. I can see why they built a board game off it. I don't know about that, but wonderful game. From a Sin City era that I'm from, this is kind of that with all the theme and the cool things that video games do today. It just draws you in, and it's kind of brutal. You get to make these crazy laws that they're a little controversial, and but you can have fun with it. And it's this real-time strategy game. Oh, I played hours of that, and very much enjoyed that. So that's that video game standpoint. Played tons of Frostpunk, and a very enjoyable game, especially at that price. So one thing I don't really talk about is books. I read a lot of books, and I'm bringing this up just from the light of board games because, well, I just bought a video game associated with board game, but the Reckoners, I've been interested in the Reckoners. I came close to purchasing it a while ago, but didn't. But I heard that it was based on this great author, and so I decided to pick up the book Elantris, which I think is the author Brandon Sanderson's first book. It was highly acclaimed, and I read it, enjoyed it a lot. My wife read it, enjoyed it as much, if not more. So I was like, that's it. I'm picking up the series of the Reckoners, which is, starts with Steelheart and then Calamity, or maybe I know Steelheart's the first one, and that's the big bad guy that you're trying to beat in the Reckoners, the board game. So I was just curious. I just wanted to, I really like that book. Now I'm reading Steelheart, and my wife buzzed, just blew through Steelheart. So I knew it was going to be good. And I'm I don't know, a quarter of the way in, and it is. It is good reading, good fantasy reading. And I've read a lot of fantasy, and so enjoying that. And it's certainly got me inclined to pick up the Reckoners when I see it again and available. So Circadian's First Light, I got that game. I picked that up. Looking forward to trying that out. That's just been one I actually bought and then took back. Was it earlier this year, or sometime last year? I don't know. But looking forward to playing that. And then today, actually, I should be getting Pipeline and Magnastorm, which I just got good deals on. Neither one has an official solo variant, but they both have unofficial solo variants. And I've heard so many good things about Pipeline, and it just looks like such a good, meaty Euro. Pipeline does. Magnastorm, it was like $15, and it's like a $70 game or something. So I couldn't help myself. I picked that up too. But I should see that today, and I'm looking forward to trying those out and seeing what the solo variants are like. I know I'm going to get right into Pipeline. Magnastorm might take a while to get to, but who knows. Anyway, and I just find myself more and more inclined to just wanting to play some good old goodies. I just last night I grabbed Cloudspire out because I was just because again it has some likeness to Infinity's Defiance of Fate as far as the story, and but that Cloudspire is world class level designing and components and stuff, and so I feel the urge, and also too I should be getting some expansion material from that. I don't know, sometime. I don't know. I just got another email from Anachrony, the expansion for Anachrony, which was supposed to be here in March of this year. Looks like it's not going to be here until after the holidays, so that's late. It's always late. Everything's late. Well, now you could say it's because of COVID, but even before COVID, everything was late. So whatever. But I should have some stuff for Cloudspire, some expansion stuff coming, and also too the big box that I can put all my my beloved Too Many Bones stuff in. Looking forward to that, but I don't know when that's coming. Hopefully sometime this year. Anyway, that was a long one. I haven't been up chatting with y'all for a few weeks, so I just kind of kept rambling. But I played quite a few games. So anyway, thank you for hanging in there if you did. And please comment on anything down below. I always love hearing from you. I hope you're doing what it takes to stay safe this holiday as the pandemic gets raging again. This wave looks like it's the doozy. And if history repeats itself, back with the flu back in whenever, the Spanish flu 100 years ago, it was the second wave that was the worst. And so here, this is looking like that history's at least going to rhyme a little bit. So I hope you're doing what you can to stay safe. Enjoy the holidays. Until next time, I'm Board Gamer. I'm out.